All right, the next question that we have is prokaryotes and eukaryotes, why does one have a cell wall and one does not? And I'm glad that the student was able to ask this question because it shows a fundamental misunderstanding. So both prokaryotes and eukaryotes have cell walls. We see them in both. Not all eukaryotes do have cell walls, but all prokaryotes do. Okay. So prokaryote cell walls are composed of different stuff than what we see in eukaryotes. So let's talk about, so eukaryotes that do have cell walls are plants, fungi, and most protists. Protists. Things that do not have cell walls that are eukaryotic are animals and some protists. Okay, so protists are things like algae, right, that do have cell walls, diatoms, and then there's also things like amoeba, slime molds, fall under that protist category that lack the cell walls. So protists are kind of like our everything else, like the miscellaneous category. They all go into the junk drawer and we don't know what to do with them. So they're like, it has a eukaryote, has a nucleus, but it's not a plant, an animal, or a fungus, so it's a protist. Close the door. Let's not talk about it anymore. Okay. So the other way to interpret the student's question is, why do prokaryotes not have a nucleus, right? They lack a nucleus. But eukaryotes do have that membrane bound nucleus. Okay. And the shortish answer is that our prokaryotes were our first forms of life, and they have been around on the earth for 3.5 billion with a B years. They're very successful, and they can get along just fine without having a nucleus. The reason that we see nuclei in eukaryotes such as animal cells and plant cells is because of that plasma membrane infolding that allowed the nucleus to form to give that extra protection around the DNA. And it also allowed the elements of the endomembrane system, such as the rough and smooth endoplasmic reticulum, the Golgi apparatus, the vesicles and vacuoles, the peroxisomes, the lysosomes, and don't forget that the plasma membrane is also part of the endomembrane system. That nucleus and those extra organelles that were created and developed and evolved due to the membrane enfolding allowed eukaryotic cells to become bigger and also allowed them to become multicellular. So let's go back to this student's question. Prokaryotes have cell walls. Eukaryotes usually have cell walls except for animals and some protists. Prokaryotes lack a nucleus. Eukaryotes do have a nucleus.